Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello, and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We are just rocking and rolling this year, coming into spring right now. I don't know where you're at, but I'm in Montana and the skies are blue. The weather's perfect. It's exactly why we moved here. So we're trying to spend as much time as I can outside with my friends and family. And speaking of friends, I love when I meet friends that I have something in common with them or vice versa, and we can bring value to each other's lives. And my good friend Tony moved up to Montana a couple months ago. We let him in. I shouldn't say they let him in because I'm fairly new here. I'm almost 4 years strong. They let him in and he found a beautiful home out in the city of Kyla in the woods. I'm really happy for him. But he's introduced me to his friend, and his friend's name is Jeff Previte. And I've got Jeff on the line today. Jeff, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jim. And I like how you opened the call. The weather here in Park City is fantastic. Spring is coming, and bringing value to lives is something that's been super important to me for as long as I can remember.
Well, what's funny is, so Tony knows I'm this extreme athlete. I'd say my days are dwindling, but I've done a lot of hard shit, and he's always talking about stuff he's doing. And your name had come up in the past about some of the challenges that you do, and it's finally resonating pretty well. So Jeff, just for our audience, why don't you give us some background on who you are, what you do, and then I really want to dig into the work that you're doing now, because I think that's the critical part.
You bet. I'll give you the broad brush strokes. Like the way that I look at my life, it's kind of in a few different chapters. One very important one is I started a landscaping company when I was 13 years old. I sold that when I was 26. By the time I did that, I had 40 employees, 20 trucks, bobcats, backhoes, excavator, hydroseed, irrigation, and masonry. Went back, got my MBA, started up with my brother and my father. We started an environmental and engineering due diligence consulting company. There were 3 of us, and now there's 575 of us nationwide.
Wow.
Couple of other very important milestones in my life. One is, to be perfectly honest, perfectly candid and open, is getting sober. I got sober 17 years ago off of drugs and alcohol, and certainly a catalyst to accelerating the quality and the happiness of my life and those around me. Not that it was, I have no regrets. It's just a life improvement plan that I've been on that path since I was 32 years old. I'm 49 now. Another big milestone is just a couple of years ago, I wanted to tie in a couple of important parts of my life. One is finding great charities to be involved with and help others in building an endurance community. So that's why the Big Belt Buckle Challenge, that's where it was born. And I'm really looking forward to trying to do my best to grow it into a national, worldwide organization.
Yeah. It sounds like your business ventures, you've always had success in them, at least, I'm sure it was filled with challenges and things like that. What were some of those big hurdles that you went through in business? Because, I understand what we are today is a culmination of our past experiences, and the things that you're doing now with the Big Belt Buckle Challenge, it is just that, it's a challenge. So I'd be curious what helped build the fortitude to put those types of things together.
Yeah, fortunately, I was just going 110 miles an hour my whole life since I came out of the womb. So, the landscaping, the getting good grades in school, and I was kind of a poor athlete, to be honest, but I did my best and I tried. I'm just not a good ball sport guy. I just, I can't play ball sports very well, but I can go straight and long like a son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I like to ski, climb, bike, summit big mountains and do huge adventures and endurance. But a lot of my life, I was just kind of head down and grinding forward is one of the biggest things. Then I get sober and I really went on a path of, self-improvement and happiness, peace, mental fortitude, and really trying to improve my internal side and external at the same time, and they go hand in hand. So it's just been a lot of head down and driving forward and trying to do the best in every aspect.
I appreciate you being candid about your sobriety.
Yeah.
And it's way behind you now. My mom is, I don't know, I think 35 years sober
Oh,
now.
wow.
She got sober after I had to kick her out of my house. She tried to go sober, and I said, okay, you can live with me, but no drinking. And a week later, there she was drunk on the couch. So I kicked her out, and she said that changed her life. I think a lot of people suffer from those ailments, drugs and alcohol, and don't put enough stock into what it feels like on the other side of that, and to know that there's help out there and there's alternatives and there is a better life to live. Even if it's not to the addiction standpoint, but we do see a lot of people's lives affected by those things. So I appreciate you being candid about it.
Yeah, Jim, your story honestly gives me goosebumps, literally. It's wild, but most people that I open up to and tell them about that part of my life, there's somebody in their life, somebody that's close to them, a mother, a father, a son, a child, a spouse. There's somebody that's affected by it, right? It's 50% of people have, some level of addiction or something that they'd like to make improvements on. So yeah, it's been a very important part of my life, and it's led to tremendous improvements. I appreciate that.
I like how you talked about you're dealing with the inside health, what that means to you.
Huge.
And you used the perfect term that I've tried to describe myself throughout my life. I'm not a ball sports guy either. Yeah. I suck at baseball. I suck at basketball. I hate golf. I was pretty good at football because I came from wrestling. So
I played
linebacker, but that was all about getting the other guy, not necessarily the ball most of the time. Yeah. But like you, I've enjoyed climbing sports and surfing and skiing, snowboarding, all those things. And I found a lot of joy in that.
Yeah.
Did you try ball sports? You just realized you sucked?
I did them all through high school. I was tall, so I played a little basketball. I was, tall, so I played lacrosse. But the things that I liked the most was, with the skiing for sure. And I did get a lot out of wrestling, the discipline that showed me, and being humble, to be honest, just being broken by another man.
Yeah.
Certainly was really, really good for me in my high school. And I definitely appreciated that much more than a baseball or a tennis or a football, soccer, etc. I just got a lot more out of it by, again, putting my head down and giving something my all. But again, that really didn't come until I got sober, when I started running marathons, then Ironman triathlons, then climbing mountains, and then riding bicycles in huge amounts of miles.
I think what's great about those sports you just mentioned, and even are going back to our wrestling days, it just develops that fortitude to count on yourself and have that belief in yourself that you can do this.
Yeah.
That you have the mental strength and the ability to do things. It's funny, I was going to climb, I wound up doing it a bunch of times, but Mount Whitney for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's the tallest mountain in the lower 48. And my dad says, he was pretty naive at the time, and my brother and I were going to do it. He goes, well, you can't do that. You're going to need oxygen. I was like, Dad, you don't need oxygen. It's high. It's 14,495 feet, give or take, what year it is and they measure. But, a lot of people wouldn't even approach that because that would be so hard.
Yeah.
And, looking back on it, was it hard? Yes. But was it one of those things that I would ever think as being something you couldn't do? No. Especially after I've done it several times now. Yep. I actually ran it a few years ago, nice. up and down. And, I want people to believe in themselves that they are capable of so much more.
Yeah. I appreciate you bringing that up. Mount Whitney's near and dear to my heart. 26-mile round trip. I've done it 3 times now, and last year was one of the Big Belt Buckle Challenge items. I rode my bike from Yosemite to Mount Whitney, 200 miles, and then I simultaneously summited Mount Whitney, 26-mile round trip. So the whole journey took me 29 hours straight. One of the little highlights was I got hit by a deer coming down Whitney Portal on my bicycle with 9 miles to go. Bounced off my leg. Fortunately, it was just a small doe, and she turned around when she hit me instead of charging through me. But I did make it through that, and that was a 29-hour effort. I had no idea I could complete that. And so that's kind of what made this year's Big Belt Buckle Challenge items bigger than last year, to be honest.
Well, I just got a little bit smaller because I felt like I was a stud for running it, but I didn't.
You are.
I didn't ride my bike there. I drove a car to the portal.
That's all right. Either way, that portal is legit, man. That thing is steep.
Yeah. No, it was a good. I was training for the Spartan Ultra Championship race in Iceland, and my trainer's like,
nice.
Well, he's like, well, let's go run Whitney. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, let's go run it. I said, well, I've done it. I've never ran it. He goes, you can run it. Let's go. I think we had 9 people with us.
Yeah.
And we were the head of the pack. We got up and down just over 7 hours, and we passed everybody. I had to go back up and get my wife. I did hike back up another hour and a half, I think, and get her and bring, just kind of encourage people to get down. But, even in that group, there was people that never thought they could do it. So
no
cool.
doubt.
Look, you brought up Big Buckle a few times, and we've got plenty of time to talk about it. And I do want to dig into it. So give me the nuts and bolts of what this is, why you started it, and how you started it.
Yep. I do hope we get the opportunity to chat about a couple other things too. You hit some really key important things in my life. So I feel like I could do this for a couple of hours with you, Jim, and hopefully we'll follow up another day in person. But the Big Belt Buckle Challenge, I created it in 2001, or at least the concept of it, because I felt myself getting a little bit, I won't say soft, but just slowing down on the size of the adventures that I was undertaking. And I said to myself, well, I'd like to get from Yosemite to Whitney and then up Whitney. And so, I said, if I can get in shape for that, I can ride my mountain bike 78 miles like Park City point to point. I've always wanted to do that. But I've never ridden more than 45 miles on a mountain bike. Well, if I can do that, I want to do 100 miles on a gravel bike. And, if I can do that, I want to climb the Grand Teton, which is something that's always been on my bucket list. And I said, hey, if I can do that, I'm going to ride my bike from Provincetown, Massachusetts to Montreal. So it just like these 6 big things, bucket list items. I said, if I can get in shape for one, I'm going to do all 6 of them next year. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did last year. Is I did all 6 of these events, loved every one of them. I didn't know if I could do them. And, I just became a better person because I was just, high on life for a year and focused. And I had to really make a number of life improvements with regards to diet, exercise, cold plunge, breathing exercises. Just everything had to click in order to get all 6 scheduling and time commitments. I had to get all 6 of these things done in addition to working a full-time job and having friends and family and that sort of thing. So I got a lot out of it. And I said, you know what, now that I've completed the 6 items last year, 2022, I said, I'm going to make this official and see if I can find some more people. I invited 30 of my friends to attempt these bucket item lists with me. And you know what, Tony Scarponi, I give him a lot of credit, man. He was with me on a number of them. We made some great progress. He summited and skied Mount Whitney. The kid barely, has skied the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. We made it up Shasta. And, we watched a guy get blown off the top of Shasta, but, we went head down, ice axe, crampons, and made it to the summit of that thing. And, Tony's been a great partner for me in many of these events. And, this year the events are even bigger. So we're looking at the Grand Picnic, which includes riding from Jackson Hole, swim across a lake, 1.3 miles, summit the Grand Teton, turn around, swim back, and bike back. That's just one event. Or mountain bike across Costa Rica, road bike down Utah, and do a 6-mile open water swim. I've never swam 6 miles in my life, but I'm gonna do my best. So
Jeff, what you're talking about doing is
and I do totally apologize. I forgot the biggest part of this, Jim, is that I didn't get to mention yet is So my whole concept is this: if anyone in the world completes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 events, I'm going to make a donation personally to the charity of their choice if they complete 4, 5, or 6 events. If they complete 1 through 3, it's a smaller donation because I really want to focus on people, endurance, multidisciplinarian. And listen, if you complete 5 or 6 events, you get either a silver or a gold belt buckle, sign of the West. There are a lot of endurance races that have these, but the one that we put together is pretty badass. And in wearing it, will show anybody that you accomplished something bigger than, a bike race or a marathon or something.
So I'm going to dig into the nuts and bolts a little bit because I'm excited about what you're doing, what you're talking about. And I know our listeners are too.
Yeah.
When you refer to these events last year that you put together, you're actually saying that this is in your business model, an event that you've got a place for people to see what it is and go do it. Yeah. And basically, if I understand it correctly, they go do it on their own and they report back to you that they've done it, or do they have to do it with you at a specific date and time?
Yeah, they do it on the beauty of it is that they do it on their own, or they can join me. I'll be putting a blog on my website. I'll be letting people know when I'm going to be doing mine, and I hopefully will find some people that want to do it with me. They do it on their own, and the beauty of the Big Belt Buckle Challenge is that they can do it, quote unquote, in their backyard, or they can do the actual events. In the backyard means it has to be the same number of miles, same distance, same degree of difficulty, same elevation. So if you live in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah, California, New York, wherever you live, you can do the events, but they got to have the same number of miles, same degree of difficulty, same elevation, and you can track that and submit it. So I don't want, people to feel like they have to travel all around the country and the world, to complete these events. But, they do have the opportunity. Like this year, my goal is to mountain bike across Costa Rica for one of the events. Yeah. But somebody can do that in their backyard. Just do 170 miles, 23,000 feet of climbing, and very technical single track riding.
Love it. It's funny you bring that up. So during COVID, we didn't participate here in Montana, but I guess the rest of the world did.
Amen to that. Neither did I.
So we were just coming off of, when I say we, Samantha, my wife, and I, we were just coming off of all the competitive Spartan racing that we'd been doing. Nice. And Spartan says, oh, we're going to do these virtual races, a lot like what you're saying, kind of match up the mileage. Cool. And they actually sent out, because they have obstacles, they replaced the obstacles with exercises.
Oh, right? Nice. So
obstacle 1, 25 push-ups, obstacle 2, 40 burpees, whatever. Nice. And, forever many obstacles they'd normally have in that particular distance of race. So they do a trifecta race, which is 3 different distances and the amount of obstacles to go with each one. And so I told Samantha, I said, hey, let's do this. And she's like, I'm not going to do the trifecta, but I'll do one of them with you. So nice. She decided we would both do their beast distance, which is a half a marathon. Okay. Wow. 13.6. So we were already trained up, and I decided we were going to go do it on a local mountain. And so we bring all of our gear over there and we're doing it. And as we're running, she says, why are we doing this here? I said, because it makes the most sense to me. And she's like, yeah, but we're technically competing against other virtual racers, right? Yeah. I said, yeah. And she says, what about all those people doing it on the flat ground? They're not doing it. There was no, requirements for your elevation, right? Yeah. I said, I don't give a shit about them. I want this to be hard for me. Yeah. And now for you, because you're doing it with me, we're doing it on this mountain. And we kicked our own butts, and we did the mileage and the distance on a pretty steep terrain, but I felt better for it. And so, I'm listening going, you know what, how bitchin' is it that you have, go with you to Costa Rica, or do it in your backyard and match the conditions as best as possible, but still qualify to participate in the activity that you're talking about. Really cool idea.
Yeah. I like that Spartan did that. I never knew they did that. And again, that's encouraging that it's been a similar concept has been done before. So I'm not, totally out of my mind. My whole thing is I want people to experience what I experienced last year, right? Which was, high on life for a year, just focused and driven and life improving, right? And then the other thing is I want to find charities to like give to. So when I started this, I've identified charities that I never even knew existed. And so we've been able to make donations to them. And I'm like, geez, that's an amazing charity. We build ramps for disabled veterans, or work with training dogs, or, find inner city programs for children, or sobriety programs. I found one here in Park City. So it's like, it's a platform to help improve people's lives and identify charities to make donations. So it's like, two of the greatest things in life, right? Which is personal life improvement and improving the lives of others.
Okay, so Jeff, I'm going to point out the obvious, but you're going to have to give us the why.
Yeah.
The obvious is you said that people can participate,
Yeah.
whether that's at home or with you in person.
Yeah.
And you also said if they succeed on a certain number of events, you're going to make a donation to a charity.
Yeah.
Of their choice.
Yeah.
What I haven't heard you say, and this is the obvious part that you can explain, you haven't said how much it costs to participate in this stuff or to enter into the Big Buckle Challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an easy question to answer, Jim. Just go on the website, www.bigbeltbucklechallenge.org. Fill in your information. It's all free. Just participate. Just show up and do your best. Some people are going to be able to do one event. And, my goal is to find some people that'll do all 5 or 6 multidisciplinary big sports. I'm working with one guy. He's a former Tour de France finisher. Mm-hmm. He came in 9th. He's one of the greatest American cyclists in the past 20 years. He reaches out to me. He says, hey, I heard about this Big Belt Buckle Challenge. He says, I can't ski, but I can do 3 or 4 events. And so here's a guy that's going to try to climb the Grand Tetons with me in August.
Yeah.
One of the greatest athletes in the world, can't ski, can't climb, but he's like, you know what? I need something to break out of my comfort zone, and I need something to train for. So he's going to do his best.
So Jeff, this is just a massive 2-pronged approach to giving back. Yeah. One is encouraging people to be healthier, stronger, fitter by giving them a challenge to go after. But 2, donating to their charity of choice. I mean, I'd love to hear a little bit more about where your heart is at on this. Like I said, it's kind of the obvious question. Yeah. Where did this come from? Where did this? I mean, for me, when I help people in my world, I just said, you know what, God has blessed me so much. The more I can do to give, the better I feel, because I've been so blessed. I'm sitting on my ranch with my kids and my wife, from my desk talking to you right now. Like, life couldn't be any better. Yep. What happened in your life or in your heart that allows you the passion to do this?
Yeah. I did the Walk for Hunger when I was a teenager, and I never walked 20 miles, and that was a big deal for me, right? And then, I didn't really have any opportunity to really give back until later in life, except for on a small scale. But many years ago, there's a sober gym concept. It's called the Phoenix. And the founder of that organization, Scott Strode, is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life. He's like a walking saint. He's dedicated his whole life to sobriety and helped tens of thousands of people. But years ago, we helped him raise $1 million, opened a gym in Boston. And you see the results. And, I can only touch or help, so many people one-on-one, help them get sober or help their educational pursuits or help the city. But this is a way to do it on a bigger scale. And, I look back at when we were climbing Mount Shasta, we watched a guy's gear get blown off the mountain, 80-mile-an-hour winds. And you know what? We make it to the top of that thing because I'm thinking to myself, I'm not turning around because I want to make this donation to this charity, and I have a good reason to be here. And it's not just me personally and, me accomplishing things, but it's holding myself accountable. But at the same time, it's finding and identifying great charities to give to. Philanthropy has been a big part of my family's life and my life for the past, 15 years as we've become a bigger organization and been able to touch more people. So I just thought I'd tie my 2 favorite things, together.
I love that concept. I can't say I would have joined you on everything last year, but I'm certainly going to take a look at your website,
Nice.
get my rear back in gear on some hard things because there's no greater thing in life, I believe, than when you do something hard and you reflect back on that. And that could be just about anything, being a parent, being a great spouse, being a great
Yes.
father,
Yep.
but also physical fitness challenges. I think they all go hand in hand because you teach yourself a lot when you put yourself in those situations to be better.
Yeah.
Um, I obviously told a great story about Tony. Any other success stories from people that you've been out on these adventures with?
Just like you just said, you participate in these 6 events, you become a better brother, a father, a son, a daughter, a sibling, a coworker. You just become a better version of yourself versus, not. So I see it all the time. I was at a conference just yesterday in New Orleans, for work. And, I met up with a handful of people who I've known who have gotten sober or have accelerated their fitness. And what happens? Everybody around them gets better.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, finding the best versions of ourselves.
There you go.
Without going into a political conversation, I just feel like in the environment we all live right now in, good, bad, or indifferent, depending on your approach, the best thing that we can do for ourselves is to be healthy,
Yes.
as well as for our families too. It's kind of like that oxygen mask syndrome on the airplane, right? It drops down. What's the first thing you do? As a parent, you put it on yourself so you can help your kids.
Yeah.
I feel that
Yeah.
our own health and fitness is the same right now. If we can be healthy, we
Yep.
can help others in
Yep.
whatever challenges lie ahead in the world we live in.
You're absolutely right. Well put. We become a better version of ourselves mentally as well as physically, spiritually, internally, and then we can radiate that amongst others, and we can share and we can talk. It's the only way to do it is to be the best version of yourself to then have good relationships, friendships, in all categories.
Yeah. So Jeff, of all the challenges that you've done so far, what's been your favorite?
The probably Yosemite to Whitney was probably one of my favorites, but I'm really looking forward to this year's the Grand Picnic, they call it the Grand Picnic in Jackson Hole. Listen, man, honestly, I'm scared of these things. Can I complete them? I have no idea, but am I going to do my best to do them? Yeah, but the Grand Picnic, Google that thing, man. That thing's the real deal. The guy who started is obviously a beast. And then 6 mile open water swim, and I'm looking forward to that one too. But mountain bike across Costa Rica, like I've heard of that race all my life, and now I'm ready to try to give it a shot, take it on, man. And so my favorite is probably the Whitney, but I've also climbed a lot of mountains, but not associated with the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. I've been to the Himalayas and the Matterhorn and Eiger and Mont Blanc, and summiting Eiger was and Mont Blanc were a couple of my favorites too, because they took me 3 tries to get up those things. So
Yeah, it's amazing. I stopped climbing mountains a long time ago, and I didn't do half the ones you've done. Done a few hard ones, but the solitude that it puts you under, and the magnitude,
yeah,
the planet that we live on, and those mountains will crush your soul,
yeah.
literally.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Just 2 things real quick is like tomorrow I'm going to try Big Belt Buckle Challenge item number 1, which is summit 2 mountains back to back. So I'm going to try one Friday, one Saturday, 5,000 feet of elevation, get up on a summit and ski down it. And, but what you just said is the beauty of this challenge is like, listen, man, there are no aid stations. There's nobody cheering you on. These mountains can crush your soul, but you come out of it after summiting one of these things and everything's different, man. You're radiating for a while. You get on top of the Grand Teton or a couple of the biggest mountains in the Wasatch, like that's a pretty great feeling. But again, these aren't all mountain challenges, and there's so many different things that somebody can do. You swim, you bike, you hike, you climb. You can get active in this and get involved. And I really like how you opened this. Is that anyone can do these things, right? Like
Yeah.
I've taken people up 14,000-foot mountains who have said I can never do it, and so it's a good feeling of accomplishment, and I think it's tone for many other aspects of our lives. And I jumped in my cold plunge this morning, and that's something that's important too, is like just doing something that's difficult daily or weekly or monthly, just to show you can do it and to gain that experience and that mental headset.
Two things. First of all, just a sidebar, fun little task, probably more of a training activity than a challenge. My brother really was the one that got me into climbing, and he was doing this yearly event with his managers. So I think he was the CEO of In-N-Out Burger at the time.
Oh,
And,
wow. Wow.
and he would take his top
Wow.
guys up to
Yeah.
Yosemite, right?
Yeah.
So they would camp in the valley in those campgrounds that they have there. And he would rally everybody at 1:30 a.m. Headlamps, the whole bit. And they would race whatever the race looked like for you as an individual to the top, up the cables that they have to Half Dome, and then get up on Half Dome, watch the sun come up because the timing would be about right, and then run down. And he kept trying to get me to go, like, oh yeah, we race up it and this and that. I'm like, oh, it sounds pretty cool. So I did a little training in the first year I went up there with this group. I think I was third, maybe second. He was first for sure. He's got the mental fortitude to push through. So then every year after that, I was like, I'm going and I'm going to beat everybody. But what was so cool about it, Jeff, is as you're coming down, there's nobody up there when you go up in that.
That's the beauty of it, man. That's the beauty.
Like literally, right? And when you're coming down running and you're seeing, I'll just call them everyday people that are going up there for a little tour session, dying, literally. And they're like, where are you coming from? Like, oh, summited this morning. You already went there and came back down? I'm like, yeah, we ran it. People are like, tripping out, there's no better feeling than to be healthy and well and alive, running down a mountain past people going, where did you come from? Right.
Yeah. I love that story. I got to meet your brother, Jim, man. He sounds right up my alley. And it's funny you mentioned that. I love those cables on Half Dome. I've only done it once, but it was amazing. And I'm taking my team, my corporate team. We're going up Mount Washington in August. None of them have ever done it. Many of them, I'm kind of dragging them, but I said, listen, it's the tallest mountain in New England. It's Mount Washington. It's got the world's worst weather, but we'll pick it on a good day. Just come do it. And I got my corporate team. We're going to do it. And no, they've never done it, but let me tell you, they're getting in shape for it, and everything's improving for them around them.
That's awesome. Well, that leads into my second question for you. It's more, I just would like to hear your version. And that is, you talked about doing the cold plunge, right? Yeah. Whether you believe in the health aspects of it, blood flow and all those things, it is hard.
No doubt. Every time.
Nobody wants to get in cold water. And by setting the tone of doing something hard for the day, get that in the morning, setting that tone, that pace, or like what you talked about with your executives, training to go do this run.
Yep.
It really changes your mental capacity to find success in your business or in your personal life. Does it not?
Yeah, no doubt. That thing never gets easy, that cold plunge. And, but the fact of the matter is it reduces inflammation. It releases endorphins. Like if I do the proper breathing techniques and cold plunge, if I do those things every day, I'm bulletproof, to be honest. But like if I miss them, or then other things can slide too. But if I do just those two things, everything else follows, to be honest. I think that it's very important for us to do things that are hard for many different reasons. Feel good, endorphins are going, accomplishment, and then other things that you think are hard, hey, that ain't that bad. I just sat in a freezing cold river here in Utah for 5 minutes,
Yeah. I used to have this line, it's in my book, but I talk about how surfers make better CEOs. And it's exactly like what you're talking about. Surfer, you're out there in the surf, big wave set comes in. It's like, okay, am I going to take this wave or not? And you have to commit. Yeah. If you commit to taking that wave, you're also committing to whatever happens. You either crash and burn, and you're in the whitewash fighting for your life, especially if it's a big wave, or you have the ride of your life. But either way, you're going to deal with those consequences. And at the end of the day, you can correct or repeat the positive outcome. And that's why I believe that surfers make better CEOs, or extreme sport athletes, or people that have made split-second decisions in the face of danger. Because when you're in the boardroom and you've got to make a decision for your team, you can live with the consequences and know, like, hey, if it was a bad one, I won't do it again. I'm going to learn from it. And if it was a good one, you're going to ride that wave out. But either way, you learn how to make decisions on the fly, live with them, and lead a better life. And I think that, to your point, the confidence that you have and being invincible after you're doing your cold water challenge and your mindset work. I just love that. I wish more people understood the strength of that.
Yeah, I love what you just said. Commit. I just wrote it down, and it's not something that I've ever really thought about, but like I had to commit to doing these big events. And you know what I did is I told a lot of people what they were and that I was going to do them. So shit, I wasn't going to I wasn't going to fail. I wasn't going to walk away from them. But that's the big word, is commit. And I never really thought, strangely, it never really comes across my mind, but that's a beauty. And I'm looking forward to reading your book. Actually, I ordered it the other day.
And by the way, those people you told a whole bunch of other people, because I know I heard it from somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And commit is a good word, because oftentimes we don't commit and we fail to launch. That's a term that some people use in business. And by failing to launch, you're not going to achieve your goals or the things that you want to achieve. And I just believe that this all comes back to what you're doing with the challenge, is you're encouraging people with a reward to help others, by the way, best reward there is on the planet. You're encouraging people to get healthy and commit to that lifestyle.
Yeah, you're right. Commit's a great word. I love it. I'm going to incorporate it into my life more moving forward. And you're right. I'm not asking anything of anyone. I just want people to, become the best version of themselves and to give back to the charities that are important to them. And grow exposure, so I'm going to be making a donation. But I encourage every single person to raise that kind of money on their own and give back to the charities. There are a lot of great organizations out there that need people like us to help them.
Yeah. Jeff, what does 10 years from now look like for you?
I like I said, I have a day job. I have a great family and girlfriend, and I just want to keep improving, to be honest. I feel like I'm catching my stride in the past, 3, 4, 5, 10 years with regards to personally and professionally. I'm learning, I'm digging deep into mentally, spiritually. Breathing has become huge, and I just want to keep doing more and keep doing better. My goal is to turn the Big Belt Buckle Challenge into something that has real corporate sponsors for many of the products that I know, use, and love. And, I want to be able to give back millions to organizations and build a worldwide endurance community through the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. It's a little crazy. I don't think it's been done before. Certainly not that I know of, but I just like the concept of it. It's just become a better person and give to great charities and build a nationwide or worldwide endurance community.
Yeah. One of the things that I appreciated about Spartan racing when I first got involved was Joe DeSena, who started it. His mission was to get 1 million people off the couch. And I think it's more like 5 million now or 10 million now. I don't know what the number is, but that really resonated with me. Is like, let's get people off the couch. And it's just like your message is resonating with me. Let's get people healthier, focusing on doing hard things, but also being able to give back. So I love your 2-prong approach and what you're doing and what your 10-year outlook is from now, because there's no selfishness in what you're talking about. And that's why I asked you the question earlier, how much does it cost? Because it's almost the obvious, but people need to hear that more often, that look, there's good happening out there and people that care, that want to give back and help you be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. There's nothing to it. It's just come, do it, commit, try, work hard, succeed, and get a donation. So, I think that this is hopefully going to be a good platform. I like what you just said about not only committing, but also 10-year goal. And, I hadn't really thought about it, but, the first thing comes to mind is raising 10 million a year and giving back to great organizations that can benefit from it.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to ask you one more question just because it came to mind, and I always try to give people more tools. you're obviously talking about peak performance here and training and being able to accomplish some really challenging things. What advice or tool would you encourage people to have when they're struggling? Maybe they get in a rut,
Oh man,
they get out of training for a couple of weeks and it's like, oh, I don't want to get back into my training, or, I got into a bad rut. What advice do you give them to encourage them to get back in the saddle, if you will?
Yeah, I absolutely love the question. My favorite question of the day. I'm glad we saved it for last. But there's two answers to that, right? One is I ask people all the time, and I ask myself as often, daily, how am I doing 1 to 10? Not like, hey, how you doing? But like, how am I doing? Right? There are a number of balls that we try to keep in the air, and everybody's different, right? And I give myself a number every day. And so if I'm not a 10, how do I become a 10? Where are the gaps in my life? And I make changes like right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, but right now. So if I say, oh, diet, exercise, reading, writing, meditating, spending time with quality people, doing the cold plunge, my finances, my work, my relationships, my family, what's important to me? Where can I make improvements to be a 10 as often as possible? So that's number one. That's a super important concept. And it's deeper than just simply, hey, how you doing? It's very deep. It's all encompassing. And it's how to make immediate improvements in our lives in the categories that are important. That's number one. And number two is, you identify what's important, right? And you work on those things. So, like for me, I know that if I have a foundation of good diet, getting my exercise, reading good books, spending time with quality people, doing yoga and stretching, breathing or meditating and cold plunging. If I do those 8 things, everything else is cool. Everything else, follows. So, I appreciate you asking that question, because I think that people, don't look at it like that. They might be a 3 or a 4 or a 5, and they don't think about how can I become a 10 every single day? How can I make incremental improvements so that I can be the best version of myself?
What I love about what you just said is not waiting.
Yeah.
Not waiting.
Yeah.
And, so I had a light example of this, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go buy a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Because of what you just said. And in my office to my left, the door swings and covers that area,
Yeah.
So it's not like it's going to be something everybody looks at, but I'm going to put on there every day.
Yeah.
Where am I?
Yeah. 1 to 10.
Because if I'm not a 10, I need to get to work. And that means right now, this weekend, we talk about wins and losses in my coaching group. One of the groups that I help out. And I took a loss this weekend. I was going to race the Spartan Beast, and leading up to it, I'd let my training falter a little bit. So maybe the question I asked you was a little loaded, but my wife says, are you going to race this weekend? I said, I don't think so. And she goes, yeah, I don't think you should either. You've let your training go off the last couple of weeks. She goes, I know you're going to go out there and you're going to go give it everything you got. And I don't want you
to injure yourself.
Yeah. She said, I don't want you to hurt yourself. She's like, I know you could go do it, but I know you're going to go try to beat everybody, cause that's what we do. Right.
Yeah.
And I said, I agree with you. I was struggling to find the words to say, like, I'm not going. So I took it as a loss, but you know what I did Monday morning? Cause the race was on Sunday. Monday morning, I was in the gym at 5:30.
Damn straight. There you go. Take action now.
I got in there as soon as I could. But the thing is, and this is why I love that you brought that advice up. So often when we're not the 10 or the 8, or even maybe the 5 that you're capable of being, people put it off.
Yeah.
They put a date out there down the road, like, well, let me just get to next week, or let me get past this, this party, or let me get past
Christmas.
It's the New Year's resolution thing. And I think, New Year's resolutions are bullshit. I
totally
think
agree.
If you're not working on the best version of yourself now, then what's the point? And
totally agree.
What resonated with what you said to me, I'm getting all charged up. What resonated was the now part. Yeah. Not even tomorrow, dude.
No.
Like when I didn't leave the house to go race Spartan on Sunday, what I should have done is left the house and went and ran the 5 miles of training that I should have been doing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
why wait? And
Right.
okay, so I made a smart decision. You know, I'm 55. I probably could have hurt myself. As it turns out, by the way, they they had the highest level of DNFs at that race ever because
Why?
because of hypothermia.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So, because we had rain all weekend and you have an elevation climb and it was
Oh,
wet, it was raining. So,
oh,
base level, people are comfy, it's 40 degrees, but they get to the top of the mountain. Now you're below 28. And then you're running back down, then back up, back down. I think it's got 3 elevation climbs,
wow.
highest level of DNF. So I was actually in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't go. But anyways, the point is like, there's no reason to wait.
Oh, it's the worst.
Just go do it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, there's no question about it. The immediacy, there is a sense of urgency, right? Because you let a day, a week slip, and then it's easy to let a month slip. Like, just people are like, oh, like you said, I'm gonna get through this party and then I'm gonna quit drinking, or I'm gonna get through this holiday season, then I'm gonna watch my diet. But like once you start slipping, man, it's a slippery slope, and I don't know about you, but I find that as I get older, it's harder to get the gains,
Yeah, it is. It is. I said to myself, like, I did 2 rounds of 75 hard in the last few months.
Oh, I love that. I love 75
It's
hard.
a, it's a great program. If you're not familiar with it as a listener, just Google it, 75 hard, do the program. It'll change your life. But I did 2 versions of it. And somebody said, well, why'd you do it again? I said, you know what? I find more joy and satisfaction in being healthy, not
Yeah,
drinking and not eating shit food than I
yeah,
do doing those things. Now
yeah.
I
No doubt.
enjoy a glass of wine or a drink. I'm not saying I don't,
Of
uh,
course.
but I find more joy in being the best version of myself, being healthy, than I did in those things, especially the sweets. So,
Yeah,
um, let's end it on that note. Don't
you
wait.
bet.
Do it now. The best advice I've heard all day. I wrote it down on this notepad over here. Do it now. Don't even wait another minute.
No
Damn it.
doubt.
I'm gonna get off the show and go eat my healthy lunch that my wife prepared for me for starters.
There
But
you go.
might have to get a 5 miler in today.
There you go. I like it, Jim. That's a good start.
Jeff, one more time, what's the website?
www.bigbeltbucklechallenge.org. And you can just sign up there and I will see that you signed up, and you can connect with me anytime. I'm a very, very accessible person, phone, text, email, but bigbeltbucklechallenge.org is a great place to start. And you can give me your info and we'll follow up.
I love it. Jeff, thank you for what you're doing. Hey, by the way, when you think about Jeff's cost of admission, which is 0, compared to the cost of a Spartan Beast in the competitive set was, I don't know, I think it was $375 and no donation on the back end, by the way. I think I'm going to start signing up for Jeff's races. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please go to his website. Please consider getting healthy for yourself to make a change. And hopefully you sign up for one of his events and you can get a donation to your favorite charity. So, Jeff, thanks again.
Amen to that. Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for listening to today's show. It is my pleasure and honor to interview all of the guests that have been on the Answer is Yes podcast. If you have enjoyed the show, please go on iTunes and subscribe, give a rating, or simply tell a friend about the show. We also believe in the message of our guests and the positive influence of their stories. As my own mentor and coach, David Meltzer, has taught me, spend some time every day thinking and writing about the things in your own life that you have more than enough of. You will find out how blessed we really are. Please visit my website, livelifedriven.com, for the latest updates about me and what I'm doing. Plus, I post a monthly blog about the many topics on this show. This podcast can also be found there. As I learned early on in life, what you believe is what you will achieve. Thanks, Mark Victor Hansen, and thank you, and have a great week.